Well, the gun's not. We're smoking a little bit.
Hey gun geeks, I'm Destinee from FateofDestinee Media, and I have here a full review on the Beretta ARX100. The newest rifle from the oldest firearms manufacturer in the world has hit the shelves. Allow me to introduce you to the Beretta ARX100. Here's a little background. Hailing from the same era as the American M16, the Beretta AR70/90 series carbines served the Italian army for over 30 years, until Italy decided it was time for an overhaul. As one of the developments of Italy's Soldato Futuro, or Future Soldier program, 2008 saw the integration of a new battle rifle on the field, the ARX160. In 2012, a semi-auto 22 long rifle version of that select fire rifle hit the US market. 2 years later, Beretta USA is finally launching the multi-caliber semi-auto ARX100 rifle. It has been my pleasure to heat it up at the range. In this review, I'll discuss the Beretta ARX's unique features and how it's handled over 1,000 rounds of mixed bag 5.56. Features. Beretta's polymer progeny has a number of unique features that set it apart, including its quick change barrel system and completely ambidextrous controls. Let's break it down. Soft case. The ARX100 comes in a quality zippered soft case. The case itself features embroidered logos, a zippered front pocket, and carrying straps. Within the case, aside from the rifle, is a 2-point sling, and within an internal pocket, one standard capacity steel magazine. Receivers. Both the Beretta ARX's upper and lower are made of Beretta's own Technopolymer, which, despite the rifle's kind of plump shape, results in a light overall weight. It's sub 7 pounds. Both left and right sides of the rifle feature ambidextrous sling point mounts. Sorry, they're not QD. The barrel also has a swiveling ambi-sling mount, and there's another fixed sling mount on the buttstock, so if you prefer different lengths of attachment, you do have options. From the factory, in its standard configuration, the Beretta ARX features polymer spring-loaded flip-up buoys, or backup iron sights, with adjustable apertures right here. The release on both the front and the rear sight is right-hand operation only. The rear sight has pre-marked round aperture settings that accommodate, according to Beretta's website, 100 to 800 yard ranges. The front sight features standard AR style post. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the stock sights, so if I were to hang on to this ARX, I'd probably pop these off and then replace them with a set of aluminum Troy Industries folding battle sights. Accessory rails. If Beretta's Technopolymer buoys aren't what you need, the ARX has ample room on its numbered monolithic 1913 Picatinny rail for other optics. In fact, one of the first things I did once my T&E ARX was in my possession was to install a Vortex Spitfire 3X prism scope onto the full-length 16-inch aluminum rail. Conveniently, the Beretta ARX's backup irons co-witness with the Spitfire, but if you're utilizing an optic that doesn't co-witness, don't fret. These stock buoys are removable.
All right, round in the chamber. All right. Reset. Man, this is a pain in the butt to do with my right eye. But I wanted to try it, because you never get better if you never try. I'm just gonna stick on, I'm gonna try the copper again. Moves a little bit between shots. Might need to get some weights for this. Sweet. The headshot went a little low. This is the most shooting I've ever done at 100 yards, and never with the 3x optic. This is fun. Let's get the popper again. Beautiful.
In addition to the upper rail, the ARX100 also includes a 4-inch Picatinny rail section on either side of the rifle. Technically, these rail sections are removable, but the mounts for the rails are not. The Beretta ARX100 also features a short 2-inch 1913 rail section under the rifle forend. Behind the short pick rail is Beretta's proprietary rail system. On the military ARX160, that's where the rail attaches to the GLX160 grenade launcher. If only I could have tested one of those puppies. For science! Quick change barrel. Out of the box, the ARX100 comes with a cold hammer forged chrome-lined 16-inch barrel with a 1 7-inch twist. Ideal for heavier grain rounds. If the 5.56 NATO isn't your bag, however, don't worry about it. Just pick up a 300 blackout barrel and swap that in instead. To change barrels, the operator only needs to pull down 2 tabs right here. There's one on the left and the right side of the barrel, and this releases the barrel. Then, pop it right out. It comes free with its short stroke gas piston attached. And you can check out this video here to see me perform the entire field strip procedure, including removing the barrel.
To start, you need the bolt to be, you need the charging handle completely locked back. Now there are 2 ways you can do this. This lever here, which is the same on the other side, or this button. I prefer to hold this button because I have kind of smaller hands and it's just a little easier for me. So, I'll pull down this charging handle, hold in the button, bam. Now, I don't know if you can see, there are 2 little levers, one here and one matching on this side. These levers need to be pushed toward the bottom of the rifle. So I'm gonna do that with my left hand, and I'm gonna brace my thumb on the receiver. And while I'm pulling these 2 levers with my left hand, I'm gonna pull out the barrel. There we go. So it comes free with the piston, and that's it. Like, that's all it takes. From here, I may as well do a full field strip, but I will need to push the bolt forward for that. There we go. Okay, here is the fun part. Open this up. Now here, this took me a little bit of practice to get the knack for it. The stock folds and there's a little plastic clip that it clicks into place and it'll hold it there. The 2 sections of the receiver are here and here. So you need to be able to separate them this way. But in order to do that, you have to push the safety upwards. So not into the firing position, but completely opposite direction. But while you're doing this, this entire face here is a metal plate. You need to push upward and inward on that metal plate at the same time that you're pushing up on that safety and pulling the 2 receivers apart. So it's a little tricky. It took me a couple of tries to kind of get it figured out. But see, I find it's easiest to use my left hand to push up on the safety and grab the lower receiver, and then use my right thumb to push down the metal plate inside. And I have yet to find a better way to do this. There we go. So here's the lower receiver. That's the gun part. It's almost entirely plastic, except you've got that firing grip in there. Okay, from here, we can actually remove the bolt. Oh, one thing you need to do though to be able to remove the bolt, bugs, is pop that charging handle inside. Come on. You gotta have the alignment just right on that bolt. There we go. Bolt. So you could clean it from here. You've got your upper receiver, which is like almost entirely polymer, and your bolt. I like this because you can really appreciate the clever design that allows you to swap which side the charging handle is and which side, from which side your casings eject. Alright, I guess I'll put it back together though. Okay. Just gotta get that lined up. These bugs out are so distracting. Okay. And I'm gonna reverse the process that I did before. Push this in. There we go. Once you have that bolt in the forward position, it'll stay in there, so you don't have to worry as much about where your where the stock is. Okay, let's pop this guy back in. There we go. I have a hard time sometimes getting this safety at the same time that I'm pushing on the metal plate just because I have smaller hands, but I'm sure for you guys it won't even be an issue. And for me, it just takes a couple of tries trying to figure it out. Now we're mostly assembled, we just have to put the barrel back in. Replacing the barrel isn't a challenge as long as you have it. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Bolt. Gotta lock that back. Okay. Just make sure it's aligned. And the one super important thing whenever you're replacing your barrel is, you hear that snap? Make sure you verify that that barrel's not going anywhere, that it's clicked in. But there you go. That's it.
The gas system is also pre-configured for two different settings, marked S for standard pressure ammunition and N for non-standard or low pressure ammo. The Beretta ARX100's quick change barrel is tipped with a traditional A2 birdcage, but it is threaded to accept other muzzle devices or, for some real fun, a suppressor. Stock. The first thing I noticed when I unzipped the Beretta ARX100 soft case was how the buttstock kind of reminds me of FN's popular polymer 5.56 carbine, the SCAR. The ARX100's 4-position buttstock also folds to the rifle's right, locking into place by means of a catch on the upper receiver face. The stock folds at kind of a downward angle so that the charging handle can still actuate whether the stock is folded or shouldered. Grip. Because the ARX100's grip is integrated into the lower receiver, it's not interchangeable. Although the feel is kind of similar to an AR-15 style E2 grip, and yes, it does have a storage compartment. I found it somewhat lacking in ergonomic comforts, but I'll expand on that later. Trigger. The Beretta ARX100 has a modular trigger group with a palmer trigger. This is my least favorite feature on the rifle. Using a Lyman digital trigger pull gauge, the pull measured a hefty 10 pounds and 8 ounces. Not so nice. The travel is about what you'd expect from a mil-spec trigger, not exactly brief, but not obnoxiously long either. Nothing to write home about. The pull is also somewhat crunchy and a touch unpredictable. I wouldn't call it a deal breaker, but it's not one of the rifle's selling points. Ambidextrous controls. In contrast to the nothing to write home about trigger, I love the ambidextrous features. Yeah, ambi safeties, bolt, and magazine releases are common enough, but as a left-eye dominant shooter, what really gets me is the ability to swap the charging handle to either side of the rifle. Just make sure that the bolt head is moved far enough forward to allow clearance for the charging handle, because to move it from side to side, the charging handle has to pass through this ejection port here. You can see what I mean in the video clip here.
One of the things I like about this rifle is that it's completely ambi. I mean, you have an ambidextrous safety already, but you can also swap which side the charging handle is on, and you can swap out of which side the casings eject. It's pretty quick. Currently, this is configured for me, a lefty. But let's say I wanted to put my brother Nero on it, I would want to swap the charging handle. So, first, I pull it back, and I like to keep my thumb on the opposite side of the bolt. I don't touch the bolt, but there's a frame that you can kind of hang on to, and it helps keep everything aligned. Because what you need to do is pull this charging handle up. And there's a nice little marker for where you need to start lifting it. And it'll make a nice click. You have to watch where that bolt is positioned, because if it's not in just the right spot, your charging handle won't slide through to the other side. Once it's in place though, push it down a little bit forward. Done. So just, I take a round, you can use a multi-tool, whatever has a similar end, because inside this hole is a little metal bar. When you push on that bar, you hear that click? That means that you've swapped which side the casings will pop out of.
Performance, reliability, and perceived recoil. This is where the futuristic looking Beretta really stands out. Once I started feeding it rounds, I couldn't help myself. I kinda gave the ARX100 a beating. Over the course of a couple range trips and several brands of 5.56, including Freedom Munition, Federal, American Eagle, Winchester, a couple others, I burned through over 1,000 rounds with nary a single malfunction of any kind, all without any additional lubrication or any cleaning. Several times, I shot till the barrel started smoking, then fired some more. The heat dissipates with remarkable efficiency. Even with the barrel smoking, the handguard, if a little toasty, was still cool enough to operate. The perceived recoil is soft, making sustained fire smooth and accurate, even for my lightweight younger sister. Despite its prowess on the range, the ARX is not without its quirks. Quirks, magazine limitations. One of the Beretta's peculiarities is in its magazine pickiness. It won't accept just any old 5.56 mag. The ARX is particularly choosy about P-mags. Gen 3s won't seat at all, but it takes Gen 2 mags just fine. Although I don't personally own any extended capacity Surefire magazines, it has been documented that the ARX100 doesn't feed with either the 60 or 100 round Surefire, nor does it fit the X Products drum mags. However, I do have a couple of Bulgarian IK520 40 round mags that fed just fine. The only hiccup with them was that they didn't always drop free. If this is starting to sound limiting, don't worry too much. It does feed Milsurp mags just as well as it feeds its own steel magazine. I used battered GI mag refugees from wars overseas, brand new aluminum 30 rounders, and well-worn mil-spec hand-me-downs from friends' ARs. Each fed smoothly and dropped freely. Another kink in the Beretta ARX100's design is in its ergonomics, or lack thereof. For someone with smaller and weaker hands, the controls are kind of stiff and a little awkwardly positioned. For example, despite the fact that there's an ambi safety, I struggled to find a convenient way to flip the switch without compromising my grip. Thinking it might be an issue of just stubby fingers, I coerced my dad, my brother, my sister, and another male rangegoer, granted, not a whole ton of arm wrenching was required, into putting some rounds downrange. All of them, including the normal-sized adult males with hands larger than mine, and my sister, had the same opinion that I did with the safety. If the grip angle was a little bit better, or maybe if the safety itself were longer, it would be a little more convenient to manipulate. Takedown controls. Aside from the grip, I found some of the ARX's takedown controls to be kind of stiff and awkward to operate. Namely, the ambi bolt release, kind of stiff, the quick change barrel release levers, also kind of stiff, and the takedown position on the safety, pushing it up like this, is kind of cumbersome. The takedown video clip has a complete illustration of the ARX100's peculiar takedown process. Well, suffice it to say that those with smaller or weaker hand strength may find difficulty with removing the barrel and separating the upper and lower receivers. Dudes with big burly bear paws shouldn't have any problem with the operation once they've learned the unique process. Charging handle comfort. The last issue that I have with the ease of operation would be pretty difficult to remedy. Because the rifle is made to easily convert the charging handle to left or right-sided operation, it's been made small enough to fit through this narrow opening through the rifle's upper receiver. Aye, there's the rub. The charging handle is too small to be comfortable after prolonged use. It's not a big bother for a box or two of plinking, but after running a couple hundred rounds through the rifle, that tiny metal spike starts becoming less and less enjoyable to wrench backward to send another round into battery, or to pull out of firing position to be able to switch sides.
While I am getting eaten alive by bugs over here, we have the Vortex Spitfire sighted in. I've got a silhouette down about 100 yards. And I'm going to try plinking it with this ARX100, and we'll see what I get. Let's get all situated. Okay, here goes. There we go. That's center mass. Okay, that's like neck. Let's see if I can't get a headshot. Oh, I did it! Yay! See if I can get it again. Sweet, that was right where I wanted it. Gotta love plinking that steel, it's so rewarding. And we are out. Man, was that fun. Let's put that on safe. So this Spitfire is 3X, but you know, it's really enough for me to reach out and touch somebody. In this case, my poor little white silhouette.
I've learned that on heavy shooting days with the Beretta ARX100, my hands may be well served by having a stout pair of shooting gloves along for the trip. MSRP. This may be the deciding factor for many buyers. Beretta's new baby is not a bargain beater rifle. To welcome with this slick new ARX100, you're gonna have to cough up some serious cash. MSRP on this rifle is currently set to $1950. While not quite so hefty as the nearly $2,700 price point of the FN Scar 16S, it's still not the kind of purchase this college debt-ridden shooter can fork over without some considerable planning and penny pinching. Here are my final thoughts on the rifle. In the technological leap forward from the aging Beretta AR70/90 designs, the ARX100 takes the reliability of an AK and puts it into a quirky, fat-bodied AR. While the quirks that I mentioned shave a few points off of its overall score, the rifle compensates with its range performance. It's comfortable to shoot, lightweight, and eats 5.56 like a monster. The fact that it looks like it jumped out of one of my favorite sci-fis is icing on the cake. I've always been something of a classicist when it comes to firearms. However, in the case of the Beretta ARX100, change is good.
Wow, that went like too quick.
Mr. Bubbles. Bzzz.